Thank you for participating in the Community Foundation Candidate Forum. Please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for inviting me to participate. My name is Tim Plass, and I'm a candidate for the Boulder City Council. And I'm running for a seat on the council to continue the tradition of progressive legislation and decision-making that's helped to make Boulder such a special place. I first came to Boulder 24 years ago, and like so many people, I was taken with the physical beauty of this place. But for me, when I say I'm proud I'm from Boulder, it's not about our physical setting, it's really about the people that we have here and our willingness to look for creative and innovative ways to make our city a better place. And I first got involved with the city government a long time ago as a neighborhood activist. And I've continued my involvement with the city as a member of the city's Landmarks Board. I've been on the board in my 6th year, and my 5th year as chair. I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish in terms of saving endangered historic buildings, including most recently helping to save Lolitas. I hope to bring that experience to the council, as well as my skills and abilities as a lawyer, to find creative solutions. Thank you.
Tell us about your personal involvement with Boulder County's nonprofit community.
Well, there are 3 areas I'd really like to highlight. First, I mentioned in the intro that I've been on the Landmarks Board for almost 6 years now. And of course, in that time, had a tremendous chance to interact with Historic Boulder. And they have been great advocates coming before the Landmarks Board and really working with us as from the city side to help save the wonderful legacy we have of historic buildings here in town, architectural styles, and wonderful neighborhoods. So it's just been great, and I've gotten to know the staff really well and the board, and I just have nothing but great things to say about them. They've just been a huge contributor to our success in preserving historic buildings. In addition to my experience with Historic Boulder and the Landmarks Board, I also volunteer for their historic holiday house tour and for the Landmarks of the Future tour as a house captain. I've participated in their salons on local government and historic preservation. And I've also written for Historic Boulder numerous descriptions of houses for the holiday house tours. So that's one area. Second area is Boulder County Arts Alliance. Through the Arts Alliance, I was able to get my work as an artist up in Barnes & Noble at the Art on the Wall exhibit. And it's a great opportunity for me to get my photographs of Boulder County out before the public in a great venue with lots of people going by. So I heard maybe that was going to be discontinued, so a little bit worried about that. And the final thing is emergency family assistance. It's this time of year. I always bring in my extra produce from my garden, and I have tons of tomatoes this year and cucumbers, and they're on their way, hopefully this afternoon.
Perfect. The Community Foundation has identified a lack of diversity in representation both among elected officials and among nonprofit leadership. Can the city increase its inclusiveness, particularly in hearing from marginalized community members?
I think the answer is yes. The community can increase its inclusiveness, and that should definitely be one of our goals in terms of social justice too. And I'd just like to touch on a few areas. First, with regard to elected officials. One of the barriers, I think, is economic, and we've talked about increasing pay for council members, and I'm not talking about for when I'm on the council if I get on, but I do think that that's a barrier to people who can't economically afford to take the time to be on the council. So perhaps at some point in the future to increase our inclusiveness, we ought to look at that. Also in terms of our boards and commissions, I think there's a real opportunity for non-citizens to participate on boards, particularly boards that are advisory in nature. I think it's a little bit more problematic when you get boards that are making legally binding decisions to have non-citizens, but I'd certainly like to revisit that. In terms of reaching out to underserved communities, I think the meeting in a box idea is really a good one, and that's a meeting that happens without any city staff there or elected officials or facilitators. But I think in addition to the meeting in a box, we need to do a bit more follow-up, because I think sometimes after the meeting in the box, people go, well, what's happening now? And so this idea of a community connector meeting, a follow-up meeting, is really good, where the issues that were brought forward can then be talked about by the city staff or elected officials, and there's actually a printed up agenda and all that. So I think that's something that we can look at. And finally, with regard to the city staff, I think that Frank Bruno got it right with his City of Boulder diversity commitment in 2007, where he was committing to the city to exploring the most inclusive solution for every opportunity. And I certainly think that that's where we should be headed in our decision making.
What are your ideas in addressing volatile sales tax revenues, a portion of which is used to support local nonprofits?
Oh, yeah, it's a difficult question, and our sales tax revenues do bounce around, and compared to a lot of other areas in the country, we rely on sales taxes versus property taxes. So the Blue Ribbon Commission on Revenue Stabilization has come up with several possible solutions. One, of course, that we obviously need to do is the de-bruising of our property taxes so we get the full monies out of those. A second idea is revenue sharing, regional revenue sharing. I think that's going to be a tough one. I don't think there are many communities outside of Boulder that want to share revenue with us right now. But maybe there's an opportunity in kind of a smaller niche with just the new big box stores where cities really fight over who's going to get that, and they give a lot of incentives. And if we could come to an agreement with our neighboring communities with regard to the big box stores, I think that would be a big success. I think we can perhaps increase the accommodations tax. I had a chance to talk with some people from the Hotel and Motel Association yesterday, and they were saying, that could possibly, as long as we get money for the Visitor and Convention Bureau. So I think that's another opportunity. It's also been talked about as a head tax. Not very politically popular, probably not going to go anywhere right now. But I mean, those are some ideas in terms of where we could go. And of course, the final thing is a lot of our city budget is wrapped up in earmark taxes. So it's for open space, and it's really hard to treat the city as one corporation, a municipal corporation, when we have so many different areas that get earmark taxes. And we can look at moving away from earmarks, but my concern is that if we don't guarantee the voters where the money's going to go, that they might not approve the taxes in the first place. So I think we need to move cautiously, and I understand the benefits of having more flexibility with those tax dollars.
Thank you. Anything else you would like to share with the nonprofit community?
Yeah, absolutely. I think nonprofits are just a huge part of making our community a better place. And whether it's from their contribution in the arts and culture, or whether it's the safety net services they provide for the least fortunate members of our community. And I know people who get involved in nonprofits aren't doing it because they're going to make huge amounts of money, but their heart is just totally in the right place. And I just think we owe them a tremendous amount of gratitude for the work they do. So thank you.
Thank you.